It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the rumor roundup. Once again, that sapphire screen that Marcus Brownlee showed us, is it real? Is it a portent of things to come? Where is the 5.5-inch iPhone? And why the iWatch might not be available till next year? It's all coming up next. Rene, Ritchie, and Ihnatko, and yes, I'm back. MacBreak Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 411, recorded July 15th, 2014. Will it bend? MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have all your financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/MacBreak. And by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers your Macintosh needs and wants and desires and hopes and fears. Andy Ihnatko is here. He's in charge of hopes and fears from the Chicago Sun-Times.
I'm really confident this is going to be a great show, but nonetheless, I'm staying away from the windows, which I've taped and boarded up because we might get some rain later.
Hopes and fears, ladies and gentlemen, together in one human. It's marvelous.
See how I pick up on what you say? It's not like I'm tuning out at all.
It's beautiful. Rene, Ritchie, who's in charge of desire from imore.com and needs and wants.
I'm covetous, Leo. I want all the things. I don't necessarily need them, but I want them.
Hey, I missed you guys. I thank Mike Elgin. It was Mike that filled in last week, yeah?
Yep, absolutely.
Mike and Sarah the week before.
And Sarah the week before. You know, I wasn't planning to be gone last week. I would have warned you. But we came to the end of our week in Hawaii, and Lisa and I looked at each other and go, 3 more days. So we called and we said, hey, is it okay if we don't come back right now?
You can't make us come back.
Yeah, see, that's not a weird thing when you're in Hawaii. If you were
nice.
like, you know, a rubber plant in Ohio, you'd say, you know what, there's something else going on. He's cooking meth.
Hawaii, lovely place. I think I went a little native. In fact, I almost came on the show with a coconut bra and a grass skirt. But then I decided I didn't want to scar people for life. I know there are children watching.
You did that for the After 11 show.
Wow,
I did get up at one point during. We were in a hotel where there was music, live music every night. You know, just a small little group in a cock. I got up at one point.
You're still wearing the Koa underwear though, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, once you go Koa, you never go back.
There's some really nice grain in that end cap there.
Hey, something happened while I was gone, and I was kind of aghast, shocked, blown away. And I'm talking about the video. I first saw Marcus Brownlee's video of the sapphire, ported sapphire screen of the iPhone 6, the 4.7-inch screen. And then he mentioned Sonny Dixon. He got it from Sonny Dixon, and I saw that Sonny and others had posted videos from China. And I think this is this surprised me. You know, typically you'll get these anonymous posts from Chinese sources, but for somebody of Marcus's stature to come forward and say, I have what I believe to be the iPhone 6 bezel in sapphire, and he cut it with a knife and he bent it and all this stuff. Is he ever going to get invited to an Apple event again?
Maybe not, but I think that with those 1.2 million video views, I'm reminded of a photo that was posted of Leonardo DiCaprio like the day after he was snubbed for an Oscar nomination, and it shows him on a yacht with like 12 bikini models, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's obviously really broken up about that. Similarly, you know, when you get that kind of attention and probably that kind of ad revenue, and also credit for breaking a really, really cool story.
No kidding.
I think he's okay with not getting the free coffee in Danish for Apple for the foreseeable future.
5 million almost views, Andy, in 5 days. Not bad. But the thing that I found, and in fact, I immediately wanted it. I almost called you, Rene, and said, is this possible? What do you think? Is this real? It'd be awfully hard to fake whatever that is. Now, by the way, no one knows if it is sapphire. I don't know if there's a way to tell. I guess a mass spectrometer
Yeah.
which Marcus apparently didn't have to
Damn
hand.
hard to
My
scratch,
favorite
damn
headlines
hard to
were when they
break.
asked experts if they thought it might be sapphire from looking at the video.
And did the experts have an opinion?
They said it's possible that it's sapphire by looking at the video, but they need a mass spectrometer.
We know that Apple has a sapphire plant working at full speed somewhere in Southern California, or no, I think they're in Central California. But and of course they use sapphire on the fingerprint reader, and maybe even I've heard some say on the lens on the camera.
Lens too, yeah.
And we've seen sapphire before in watches, but what we've not seen is sapphire that big.
At that production capacity too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this and sapphire would be pretty scratchy. I mean, the features that he showed of this would be typical of sapphire, right?
And the thing is, I mean, Sonny Dixon, he got iPhone 5S parts. He might have even gotten iPhone 5 parts. He's pretty good at it's. They all come out of China, like you said before, but he's been very good at actually finding the people who have them and getting them to send them to him. And now he's sending them on to other people.
Now, Gorilla Glass 3, which others are using, is similar, is it not?
It's hard to know what the practical difference is going to be. I don't think the Gorilla Glass can stand up to the sort of abuse that he seems to be giving it right now, but it's we were talking about this a little bit, and I'm not. I think Apple will have to really convince people that here is why this is going to be even more scratch proof than Gorilla Glass, which is pretty damn scratch proof. I've got Gorilla Glass on 3 different phones that I carry unshielded in my pocket, and there's barely a nick on any of them. So I'm wondering, though, if it's less because of the scratch resistance and more because this allows them to manufacture this phone in a brand new way. Right. I did notice that the edges of that front bezel are really nicely rounded over.
Yes.
And they don't look like they're rounded over to be fitted into something else. It looks like that is supposed to be the leading surface of the phone. And maybe it's possible that the reason why they went with this material is because it's easier to do that.
Both you guys have experience vetting rumors like this. We should say that rumors that come out of Cupertino are rare and often wrong, mainly because Apple is so good at keeping a lid on its own employees, but that the supply chain in China much harder to keep a lid on. So it's, as you point out, it's not unusual to see parts come out of China.
And this really is the about the time when you would start to expect some parts to leak out. If this had come out 4 or 5 months ago, you'd be right, maybe. But 2 or 3 months before you're expecting a new iPhone release, it just seems more credible than it would be otherwise.
And Rene, this would be a hard thing to fake, I imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, you never put anything past practical jokers, but it would be hard to fake. There's very little incentive for faking it. I mean, Marquez can get video views by doing a lot of things.
Well, I wouldn't say Marcus did it. I mean, if anything, maybe Sonny Dixon.
But he's also like, because you're only as good as your reputation with this stuff. And if you're doing it consistently, you get a good reputation. If you try to pass one over on people, you don't. The thing that I thought was interesting too is that whether sapphire is better or not, and it would be hard to tell. It would be good to do the exact same video with this panel and a 5S panel side by side to see what the actual differences are. But it's the same with 64-bit. It doesn't mean much to people, but you put it on a box and suddenly another phone doesn't have it. So you're at the store, the Apple phone says sapphire glass. Does that one have it? No. Okay, I'm getting the sapphire phone.
Well, and who doesn't? I mean, my kids have spidered every one of their iPhone screens ever. Who hasn't seen this happen a million times? I mean, if there's a promise that your iPhone or any phone screen is more robust and durable, that is a genuine benefit. That's not merely, here's a checkbox on a grid.
My 5S is scratched twice right now. I have 2 scratches down the front of the screen.
But
don't they have to attach this to glass?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. I mean, whether this actually means that you're going to crack your actual screen less likely than before, that remains to be seen. If all it does is make sure that the front looks very, very pretty, and this doesn't increase the cost of the phone, that's a win. Also, the other win is, like you were saying a minute ago, that part of selling an iPhone is part about making it seem like it's at least 18% magic. And if you say, we've got this magical new material on the front that absolutely nobody else has, and one of the reasons why no one else has it is because no one else can figure out how to make it work on a phone, but of course we did. So we're gonna remember how when the iPhone 4 came out and they made this big deal about how we're using military grade windshield glass for the front and now the back, which makes it the most durable and wonderful thing. And of course it took only about 2 weeks to realize that, so now I have 2 planes of glass that now can shatter if I drop it accidentally instead of just one. So really cool, really interesting, but let's get a couple million of these in people's hands to see exactly what this new cover, whatever it is, does for the phone.
I don't know how meaningful it is because, but here's a Chinese video with probably a similar part, and they show that they same kind of robustness until They put it under the tires of what they said was a 1.6 ton vehicle. And then, in fact, let me see if I can get to that part. Here it is.
You got to love this whole industry of torturing parts.
And then they skip. Then they move on and do the same thing. Actually, that looks like the video from Marcus Brownlee. So I don't know. This
Parts
is
porn.
So I have in my hands. This is a Samsung Galaxy S3 front cover. Let's just take this off. I want to get 5 million views. And I have a hard, sharp knife. Not a scratch. It's pretty hard to use a sharp knife.
Also, the panel by itself is thin and it'll bend when it's on. Andy said this.
Oh,
really
it's
well last week,
flexible.
Yeah.
Oh.
When it.
Well, maybe,
Oh, please.
I think I'm bleeding.
Ah,
Leo.
damn. Oh.
Well, there you go.
Medic.
Somebody please sweep those glass shards off of the table.
Is
from
that
Mr.
glass?
Yeah, well, it's pointy. Is that blood? Here's your
Wow.
answer.
That really, okay, don't do this at home. I can't drink my water or coffee now either.
Exactly, yeah.
And I hope the people in the front row in the studio audience are okay. And meanwhile, let's get another shot of that blood because I do want those 5 million views. Yeah, that's real blood,
Leo
folks.
will go for his audience.
Now let's be really careful here. At any point, and look at that stuff you peeled off of that top. Did any of them say, "Don't try to break it with your bare hands"? Because if it doesn't, we got a lawsuit.
That
Samsung money, Leo. Samsung money.
I didn't really expect that. Can you give me a big thing? It hurts. I've been punctured.
I'll say, Leo, that's not something that I would have instinctively thought to do myself.
Hey, but you know what? I take the hits for the hits.
We suffer for our art.
Our art.
And Leo has the power of millions of smartphone-trained keyboard strokes in those hands.
So, okay, hey, we could say this much. It's better than the Galaxy S3 front cover.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've proven it.
Again, if you but you still can't drive your rental truck over it. And really, why screw with us, Apple, if you're saying we can't drive a rental truck over it?
I don't know if that's glass or just shards of plastic.
If people are watching, we need a supercut now of Leo and Marquez both bending their phone.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, let's.
No, wait a minute. Before we do, other iPhone rumors. Ming-Chi Kuo. Good or bad, I can't remember. Is Ming-Chi
50-50.
50-50. Says, and this is convenient. Remember that 5.5-inch iPhone? We know, by the way, one thing we do know from if this part is real, and as everybody has said, it seems likely that this sapphire part, whether it's sapphire or not, we don't know, but it does seem like it's a real part. If that's the case, that's 4.7 inches. So that does confirm a 4.7-inch iPhone. Yeah. Ming-Chi Kuo, who has, among other analysts, said there will be a 4.7 and a 5.5-inch iPhone, this week said, maybe not the 5.5. They're having trouble making that work.
I love it. Every year, Leo. Every year, an unannounced iPhone is delayed.
Yeah.
And what's funny about this is it gets reported. Like I was going through my RSS feed yesterday, and it did not say the honest headline, which is analyst adjusts his forecast for when Apple is going to shift. It said iPhone 5.5-inch iPhone 6 delayed from his previous guess.
Yeah, let's get rid of that.
No, exactly.
I don't want to drink anything
that way you get two. You get two. You get two hits from the same BS rumor.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. He said, no, Apple never said. He said, you know what we need is a dust buster. You got a dust buster?
Need a Dyson right on the desk.
I need a Dyson. We do have a Dyson. Jeez, that thing hurt. It was like stabbed me in the finger.
It looked like it hurt, Leo. It looked like several jagged pieces of material spraying in all directions.
I am really lucky I didn't blind myself.
I was got to say that you need these safety goggles.
Next time, Burke, remind me to wear the safety. Oh, you know what? All the safety goggles are at home so that we can safely fire our mini cannon.
There's a reason why MythBusters has an ongoing relationship with that Alameda bomb range. Because
come on, give me no, we got to do this. I can't sit here in the shards. Thank you.
The shards of Samsung.
Oh, I ain't got time to bleed, my friends. Thank you.
Well, okay, let's look at the positive here. If Apple really does have like a sapphire cover that's more resistant to scratching and breakage, I will bet you $18 right now that Apple uses this video in the rollout video. Tim's
I just
introducing
want
you
to.
from-
I
from
want to
the
be
stage.
the Adrian Kingsley Hughes of the iPhone 6. That's all. I want to be Mr. Toxic Hell Stew.
Our
Well,
competitors'
we don't
phones.
want to we don't want to test our competitors' screen covers, but some of you in the media decided to do it on your own, and well, let's see what happens.
Hey, Burke, was that a genuine Samsung replacement part? We don't know.
He screamed yes from the kitchen.
He said yes. Because so we have, I think for know-how, we were showing how to fix phones and stuff. So we had some replacement parts. That's a genuine Samsung. All right. Don't try this at home, kiddies.
That's cappuccino monkey glass, not quite.
So I'm actually disappointed because I was looking for a 5.5 inch, but I didn't really expect a 5.5 inch. That just seems so un-Apple to make that leap from 4 inches all the way to 5.5 inches.
If you look at it as a continuity between phones and tablets, they'll have something at 4 inches, something at close to 5 inches, something close to 6 inches, something close to 7, something close to 9, and then maybe 12.
You think they will eventually?
Yeah.
So there will be at some point a 5.5 or 6 inch something. I don't know if that's a tablet or a phone.
I don't know. I mean, there's so much really great experimentation happening with Samsung and with HTC and others, and it seems as though every time they come up with a new form factor, they find a market for it somewhere. So I don't know. I too am a little bit skeptical about a 5.5 inch iPhone, only because it seems as though that's big enough that Apple is going to start to say, well, we have a larger iPhone. It's called the iPad mini. It runs all that software, and it pairs because of these new iOS 8 features. It can use the exact same, it can receive phone calls from your iPhone. Why would you want something else? But who knows?
Yeah.
I'm right now on the big review board. I've got 3 different devices that I'm kind of contemplating whether they're worth writing about. But every time I see one of these different, I've got the new Galaxy Tab 5, which is a little bit smaller than the iPad mini, but not that much. But it's still a very compelling size. And
Is it 5 inches?
I don't know what the exact screen size is.
Huh.
Imagine something that's about the same length as the iPad Mini, only it has a widescreen form factor, which is nice because it makes it just slim enough to be pocketable, and yet given that this device has the ability to run side-by-side apps and also the ability to watch movies in that form factor, it's a very compelling size. So I was trying to, as these rumors of a 5.5 inch iPhone have been getting greater traction, I've been wondering, gee, if I were presented with that choice between a 4.7 or a 5.5 inch iPhone, which one would I go for? And I honestly don't know which one I would go for.
Rumors are, well, Ming-Chi Kuo says it might not be till later this year or early next year. I think at this point, we're just going to stop listening to Ming-Chi Kuo.
Winter is coming.
It's such a, I mean, it's you read through these things with a certain amount of expectation, and those expectations are absolutely met. It's like, okay, so he's basically doing what we're doing right now, which is having a conversation about what might happen. Only whereas we're obviously just 3 people having a conversation. He's saying, "Oh, I'm an analyst, and I've looked inside my crystal ball, and I think that." Well, no, you just thought that. Of the many possibilities and the infinite worlds that exist just adjunct to our own reality, there is a reality in which Apple is planning on a 5.5 inch iPhone and that they are going to ship it around Mobile World Congress instead of during the fall. And you nod and say, yes, I suppose if there are an infinite number of universes disjoint from our own, one of them could indeed have dinosaurs evolved from man, and they're using 5.5 inch iPhones in February and not in September.
I have to say, when you combine, this is a 4.7 inch phone, it's the Moto X, and Motorola made a big deal like this is the perfect size because it's you could still do one-handed operation, and it does. I have to say, it fits in the hand better than a 5 inch, but it gives you more screen real estate than the iPhone. But you put that next to a 5S, it doesn't look like it's that much bigger. I mean, it really doesn't appear to it's not something that people are going to go in the stores and go, wow, it's a lot bigger. A 5.5 inch, they would.
I mean, one of the things, for Ming-Chi Kuo, is he is one of the more reliable analysts. His timing is often suspect, but this is one of the reasons why Apple doesn't pre-announce something. They never said we're going to have a 5.5 inch phone this fall, because even if they are working very hard on a 5.5 inch phone, they've not made one before, so they have no idea how hard it's going to be to get the screens, what the yield rates are going to be, what the cost structure is going to be. They could be shooting for it for the fall. It could slip till spring, but they keep all that inside. They keep all the sausage making inside because they just want to be able to announce a product, and that's very different than a lot of other companies. And so you can look at the parts companies, and Tim Cook has said this. It's hard to get data from one metric. But you can look at it and say, oh, these screens are coming in. But you really have no idea when Apple's going to launch for, because they might not know yet. And until they do, it's just idle speculation.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody keep that in mind. We should also point out, because Irene said in the chat room, if they really do have this sapphire cover, I am definitely buying the next iPhone because I've already cracked my screens. This does not mean your screen won't crack. It just won't scratch maybe, but there's still glass underneath.
Yeah, not much of your iPhone is bendy in the way that screen cover is bendy. Yeah. Keep in mind.
So this would be very easy to anyway. Just want to point that out. The bottom line, we don't know anything. But we'll find out.
The round stuff is interesting, though, because I heard a rumor when iOS 7 was introduced that the next iPhone would have smoother edges because all the bevel gestures and things included in iOS 7 made you move your hand over that area more, and they thought the sharper edge was not as nice. So it'll be nice if something like that comes through.
Yeah, this has the same thing, bezel edges. And, of course, you're talking about gestures that made Microsoft Windows 8 famous, gestures no one else has used to this date, but this is an iOS 8. The idea that you will swipe your finger not from on the screen but just from the edge of the screen in would be a special gesture. And on Windows 8 it brings in the charms menu or swipes to the next screen. And a lot of people find that very annoying.
Yeah.
Well, but
in iOS 7 it's a universal back gesture, but there's a button as well. So if you want the button, you can use that.
Right.
But if you're it's like a keyboard shortcut. If you're very adept at using gestures to navigate, you can go much faster just by swiping through things.
Mark's apologizing for giving me the amazing shattering screen. That's not your fault. Look, he wrote a little post-it note that says, sorry. It's not your fault, Burke. You never told me to try to break it. He did bring me a knife. FCC rules might change thanks to a couple of friendly senators, Deb Fisher of Nebraska, Jay Rockefeller of West Virginia. They introduced the E-Label Act, which allows companies, up to now the FCC, when you get an FCC approval on your device, has required that you etch it into the device. That's why the iPhone has that ugly FCC CE thing etched into it. Maybe with this rule, the new iPhone will not have that. Although I have to point out, is the FCC has its own etching, but there's also the European approval process, and they have that etching includes the European process, probably Canadian too, on the iPhone back. So you can't see that, can you?
No, I'm not getting your screen.
Well, I was going to show you, but it doesn't matter. It's not important. Not important. The CE is Europe, right? There it is.
I'm looking for CRTC, but I see nothing.
No CRTC. I do see an X over a garbage can. That means don't throw your phone out. Good advice.
You do wonder to what degree does this drive Apple bananas, and to what degree are they willing to fight to see, is there any way you could let us not put all that crap on the back of our phones?
Yeah. Well, apparently the senators are encouraged. It saves money too, of course. The senators say allowing them to pass the savings on to consumers. I wouldn't hold out hope on that, but
all the energy saved from that laser goes in your pocket.
Here's an extra penny. Don't spend it all in one place. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about personalcapital.com. I really love the idea of Personal Capital. I'm not going to mention, since this is a Mac show, the fact that Personal Capital immediately made an Android Wear app so you could see how your investments are doing on your watch. That's just a nice additional feature. Personal Capital, the idea is it's to help you manage your money. And you put all your data into the Personal Capital website, and then you get a great dashboard that shows you what your investments are, your net worth is, where the market is going. But even more than that, it really helps you make sure you're investing properly for your financial future. This is something maybe when you're younger you don't think about. I know I didn't. But let me tell you, it makes a big difference if you start young. To pay attention to all of this stuff. All the apps are free. All the apps are secure, including the Android Wear app. So that's really cool to see that on your wrist. They have a mutual fee fund calculator, so you make sure you're not overpaying for your mutual fees, and a 401k fee analyzer. If you're overpaying for advice, I think there's two problems that happen when people, as they start to think ahead. And by the way, most people don't do it till they're in their 40s and 50s. That was me. If you're in your 20s or 30s, now's a good time to do this. Either they go somewhere where you get a personal financial advisor, and then they kind of pay attention to you, but not much, and you get the feeling they're recommending stuff they get a commission on and stuff like that. That's kind of creepy. Or you try to do it as I did, because I'm a geek, online, and And it's kind of bewildering, and I don't know if you're getting the right advice, and all your accounts are spread all out. Personal Capital really solves this. I started using it about a year ago when Bill Harris came in here and did triangulation. Actually, it's almost 2 years now. And I just love it. All of your information in one place. Go to personalcapital.com/MacBreak. It is free. They do, if you want, you can get a financial advisor. These are certified financial planners. They're not on commission. They will tell you what you're spending too much on. They will help you get a better idea of what you're invested in, where you're spending money. It's really great. Personal, even if you only use it once, just to get an idea of where you stand, it's great. Personalcapital.com. And I love it that they were so quick off the mark and did an Android Wear app. So now I get like alerts when my 401k investments are tanking or going up or whatever. It's like a personalized stock market widget. It's really fabulous. Personalcapital.com/MacBreak, and of course that's free as well. Moving right along, Apple has, speaking of the FCC, submitted for approval to the FCC a dedicated iBeacon device. FCC makes these filings public, so when Apple or any company submits to FCC approval, then everybody knows something's up. The hardware is a rounded hub-like device with a USB port, a dedicated on and off switch. There are other companies that make iBeacons, are there not? But this is, and of course, as we learned, I think thanks to you, Rene, the iBeacon is built into any late model Mac, iPad, or iPhone. But this would be, you could put this in a store environment. You could put this at a museum. Tell me, explain to me what this device does, or why you would want this, why this is in addition to what is being done already.
So, I mean, it's interesting. It's all for indoor navigation and for proximity-based things. So, for example, if you have an iBeacon in the Twit studios, think of it almost like NFC, but you walk past it, it can trigger things on your phone. It can trigger interactions. You can label them. So if you have a chain of restaurants, it gets a little bit complicated, but they have a large ID and a small ID. And the large one could say, this is this chain of restaurants. This one could say, this is this Starbucks.
Oh, interesting.
And as you get, sorry?
Interesting.
And as you get closer to it, for example, when you're in 20 feet, it can give you like a notification saying, here's information about this. When you're within 10 feet, it can push content to you and say, oh, here's a bunch of stuff that you can do when you're near me. It raises a lot of possibilities for things like guiding people through national parks if they have accessibility issues, or helping you find products in a store, or even just like home automation stuff. Maybe you come in, it detects your iBeacon, it does a bunch of things to increase your lights, turn on televisions, close garage doors, all those sort of things. So if you think about it, sort of like a network of location beacons that can then trigger actions on your device, it becomes very interesting.
Can I think of it as something like a bad girlfriend who tells me what I can do when I'm near her?
No, because it doesn't have any sentience. It has no agency of its own.
Sentience.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
nice. It's nice because it's not like other similar techniques the store uses. It can't actually capture your ID or anything like that. It only is just saying, here's a location.
It's
here's
just
a location,
broadcast. It doesn't receive.
Right, exactly. That's why these things can last like months and months and months on a tiny little button cell battery.
That's cool. So
unless they add more smarts to it, but the basic iBeacon idea is that you have a low power device that just says the receiving device can get a very, very good fix on its exact location based on this, but it's not there to collect information from your device.
Excellent. I get it now, and that will solve the privacy issue that a lot of people have with iBeacon. In fact, a couple of people in the chat room said, "Well, that does it. I'm turning my Bluetooth off." First of all, does turning Bluetooth off disable iBeacon?
There's an independent iBeacon control in iOS. So you can go in and just turn off iBeacon saying, I never want to be bothered by this. It uses Bluetooth LE, Bluetooth Low Energy. So yeah, turning Bluetooth off will also stop it. I don't believe it does anything with Wi-Fi, so you're safe. But you don't need to deny yourself Bluetooth just to stop iBeacon.
Just turn off iBeacon.
Yeah.
And it also should be said that if you have, let's say you have the Starbucks app on your phone, the Starbucks app can find that beacon, and then the Starbucks app is the one who transmits to Starbucks Home Central. Oh, it's Andy Ihnatko.
That's possible.
This one, right. But the device itself is going to be basic.
That makes sense. So Starbucks beacon, you come in the store, the beacon sees you, your Starbucks app sees where it is, but it could do this with or without the iBeacon. And
you could do it with GPS, but GPS requires much more power from a device typically than iBeacon does.
Mark Gurman in 9 to 5 Mac said this could also have applications for home automation. This could be part of the HomeKit.
People are just experimenting with them now. A bunch of developers have bought them. I know David Barnard put them up in his local coffee shop. And it's a huge experimentation period right now. It's almost like one of those technologies where Apple has a couple ideas what you could use it for, but because the framework is there, people will discover a lot of amazing other opportunities.
Yeah, there's one developer that I'm in touch with who wrote just for his own personal use an app that he's got a little coin-powered iBeacon just inside his luggage. And so he doesn't really have to get up from the chair at the baggage claim terminal until his little app says, "Oh, by the way, your piece of luggage is now actually on the carousel because it's now only about 20 feet away." So
we had a treasure hunt with them.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting what happens when this goes from something that is almost nowhere that people who know how to use them have access to them to these things are now everywhere and there are signals all over the place. It's kind of like when you think about there's no need right now for regulations on how to use quadricopters, but once they're at every Best Buy has them and they cost $90, and people who are just jerks who don't care about privacy and don't care about crashing a whirling bladed copter into the middle of a beach, start messing around with them, that's when you start to wonder, okay, is this a universally a good idea, or is this just a good idea for me to have it and nobody else?
So Patent and Trademark Office has refused Apple's request to register Touch ID as a trademark. They base their refusal on likelihood of confusion. There's a company called Kronos, which also has a Touch ID. Also,
Cisco had an iPhone, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Apple has a couple of routes. They could go and try to buy the other guy. What did they do with Cisco?
Gave him money.
Give him money.
A check. Yeah.
Buy him off. Or you could change the name, I guess, if you really wanted a trademark. According to the Patent and Trademark Office, quote, in the identification of goods, applicant must use the common commercial or generic names for the goods, be as complete and specific as possible, and avoid the use of indefinite words and phrases like accessories, components, devices, equipment, materials, parts, systems, or products. Such words must be followed by namely.
Yeah. You have to get, if you're asking for a trademark, you have to get a trademark on the phone. You can't just simply say I own iTouch for cupcakes.
Got it.
Rather, it's okay if you say I own iTouch for cupcakes. You can't say that I own it for any products that I'm going to sell to a retail audience, because that simply means that no one else can ever use this. Trademarks only protect one specific product for one specific kind of use. And if you have plans that go beyond this one thing, you have to say specifically what you have in mind for it. And that's another area in which the trademark office said no.
Got to stop using interns on these trademark applications, Apple.
Well, I mean, they want to avoid confusion, right? So if you're Touch ID the pants and someone else is Touch ID the phone, you're fine. But if someone else is using Touch ID for a computer-like device and then you want to use it, then they think it's confusing.
Yeah, when we trademarked Twit, for instance, we trademarked it in the area of broadcast news and entertainment shows or something like that. And Twitter, which we thought was kind of a conflict, we talked with them and our lawyers and their lawyers, and Twitter has its trademark in whatever it was, internet, social media, and so it was decided that we don't conflict.
You coexist.
We coexist because we're in separate, there's no confusion because we're in separate areas. Yeah. Although everybody apparently doesn't pay attention to that, because everybody, whenever I say I own a company called Twit, says, "Oh, Twitter." And I go, I wish. No.
That's exactly the situation is there to help. Think about how now you can't launch a service or company without having to make up a brand new name for it, because every single English word that could be a domain name is now already a domain name. And whoever has, weatherapp.com, that's it for everybody. So under trademark, go ahead.
Kronos' Touch ID is actually a fingerprint recognition device, so I think Apple's kind of out of luck here. They're either going to pay Kronos some money, or they're going to. That's what patently Apple says, or change the name.
Yeah, they're going to write a check. They got money. They're going to write a check. Very good day to be Kronos.
If you've noticed lately that the music on hold when you call the Apple Store has gotten better.
Every day, Leo.
Yeah, that music sounds so much better. You can thank a Redditor. He posted on Reddit. I once sent Tim Cook an email about the quality of music while on hold with Apple. It was super low quality. Therefore, an upbeat rock song sounded like pure distortion. Really aggravated me because I was on hold for 20-plus minutes for something so simple to set up a Genius appointment. Much to my surprise, a lady from Cupertino called me the next day saying she'd received a concerning email from Tim about ugly distortion music on hold. And Tim had tested this himself and agreed. She assured me the hold music would be tested to make sure it sounded pleasant on all types of phones and connections.
That's why they bought Beats, Leo. We finally figured out the reason.
Finally!
God, I love Apple. I don't mean that sarcastically or ironically. I mean that this is the company where someone can think that that's a bad thing, contact the CEO of the company. The CEO will actually put himself on hold, say, yeah, damn it, that sounds awful. Let's fix this. And it gets fixed.
Isn't that great?
I love Apple.
Cook says he reads every email he gets, hundreds a day. And obviously, like most CEOs of big public companies, they have a office of the executive or an office of the chairman that responds to these. And he's got people. I'm sure he doesn't read them all alone at night. He's got people sitting there next to him.
The royal Tim Cook reads them.
Yeah, and he says, fix that. But I think that's great that they pay attention to that.
Well, especially if you're on hold, you're probably not there on hold to tell Apple how happy you are with the product. It's because you've got a problem that needs to be solved. And if you have to listen to Having My Baby over and over again at crackly, crinkly quality, that's not going to make you happier when you finally talk to a person.
You did hear Veronica Belmont and Ryan Block's conversation with Comcast. The Comcast has apparently apologized, but I don't know. I think
apologized because it was Ryan. Sadly, if it was just Joe Schmo having that horrible experience,
Comcast. So what happened is Ryan and Veronica are moving, and they wanted to switch to a provider called Astound. What are we looking at? Here, I have it here. Can you hear my audio? And so they called Comcast. Now, I should mention before we play this, this is 10 minutes in. They're talking. They were transferred, of course, as you will be when you try to cancel Comcast, to a customer retention expert. And the customer retention expert immediately said, "Why are you switching?" And Ryan says, "We told him several times, but he wouldn't stop asking."
Apparently, Veronica was on for 10 minutes before the recording.
Yeah, Ryan said, "What's going on?" and picked up and then started recording it.
Okay, we'd like to disconnect. We'd like to disconnect, please.
Okay, so why is it that you don't want the faster speed? Help me understand why you don't want faster internet.
Help me understand why you can't just disconnect us.
Because my job is to have a conversation with you about keeping your service, about finding out why it is that you're looking to cancel the service.
I don't understand. Is this
if you don't want to
for
talk to me, you can definitely go into the Comcast store and disconnect your service there. Okay,
we're just asking for you to
kill two birds with one stone. You got to return that cable card to the store anyways.
We're actually going to just mail the cable card in, but if you can just please cancel our service.
It goes on for many, many minutes.
I mean, you've been with us since around 2005, 9 years. You've been a Comcast customer.
Sounds like Artie Fufkin.
After a decade.
What about the relationship?
It's not that
we had a relationship.
It's not that guy doesn't want them to cancel. It's that he doesn't want to be the one who says that they canceled under his phone call.
Is that what it is? So I've read a number. There's been a lot of conversation about this. Comcast is embarrassed, as they ought to be. Some people have said this is probably a third-party company that was trained by some agency, not Comcast, to never give up. Because the guy, it takes him another 10 minutes to convince the guy, I really want to cancel.
It's probably not training, though. I mean, there was a couple of people on on Twitter who did retention. They said that their paycheck is affected by the amount. Like, if you can put down a reason why they're leaving, like they're moving, then it's not your fault. But if they just think that you lost a customer, you don't get paid properly.
Let's put that up again, Chet, because I want to read Comcast's statement. So
this is also in the doc.
We are very embarrassed. By the way, our employee, so we now know it is a Comcast representative, spoke with Mr. Block and Ms. Belmont and are contacting them to personally apologize. By the way, I've received calls from the Comcast executive office. You never want to ever get that call. They're worse than Artie Fufkin. They're horrible. Anyway, let me read some more. Put it up again. The way in which our representative communicated with them is unacceptable and not consistent with how we train our customer service representatives. We're investigating the situation. We'll take quick action. While the overwhelming majority of our employees work very hard to do the right thing every day, we are using this very unfortunate experience to reinforce how important it is to always treat our customers with the utmost respect. However, I have to say that as soon as they posted this, I saw many, many people saying, oh, yeah, I've had this happen. And not just with Comcast.
It's not a lie, though. They don't train people to talk that way. But if your job is you got to stop these people from canceling their accounts. Otherwise, you don't get paid. Your natural reaction is going to be to do anything you can to stop them from canceling on your call.
I guess you're right. Yeah. Can you? Because that's kind of what he said. Bring it to the store and cancel.
Yeah. Because then he doesn't have to mark you as lost. And if he marks you as lost,
So
in some of these places, you lose your incentives and things.
It's kind of how this whole thing is structured.
There was this great, I forget what it was. It was this great story about how a company decided they wanted to prioritize on all the right things about customer service. Like they didn't want to make their customers wait, and they didn't want to, they guaranteed you wouldn't be transferred around, and they guaranteed all these things. And what ended up happening on the implementation side is people refused to transfer you because it was a bad mark on their record, and they would hang up on you if it went too long because they couldn't have a phone call that went too long.
Oh, wow.
So the goals that you set as a company, you have to actually understand
There's
the problem you
unintended
want to solve.
consequences.
Like if your goal shouldn't be have a short conversation on transform, it should be to make the customer happy. Then the end result is the right one. But if you put arbitrary decisions on, like you can't lose this many customers, then you have this result.
Brian Roberts, the CEO of Comcast, has said, "We want to be just like Apple." Okay, Brian, you got a little work to do. I can't imagine that ever, and I don't think anybody ever has told a story anything like that, dealing with Apple.
You're probably not paid on refusing to return your computers.
Right. So that's the first thing you do. Exactly.
There's occasionally, I'm sure all of us have occasionally gotten emails from folks who've had a really bad experience at a Genius Bar. Mostly I've sent this exact same MacBook back time and time again over the past 5 months with the exact same problem, but those are definitely outliers. And it's, as not to defend Comcast, but that was exactly the right way to respond to that. I'm glad the companies are at least getting a little bit more savvy about what they are no longer allowed to do in response to bad press like this. You simply say that this was completely wrong. We are really embarrassed about this. We are going to reach out personally to solve this, and we're also going to use this as a way to help train our people better. And then you can leave the conversation a little bit open-ended, but we're all old enough to remember that those wizened days 7 or 8 years ago, where you'd get a call from someone saying, "We're gonna ask you to take down that post because we have lawyers and we believe that fits under libel, and you'll have to not only pay our damages but also pay our lawyer fees." And no, that's the Barbra Streisand effect is a well-known phenomenon.
Yeah, and Comcast, to be fair, they were the first to use Twitter to respond. Remember the Comcast Cares account and Frank Eliason, and so I mean, there's certainly people within Comcast who are trying to make it a better company, but I think you've got to make the rules support what you're trying to do. Yeah. Boy, when I listen to that, I think Jenny Jardin posted it on Boing Boing, and she said, "Trigger alert! This will cause PTSD if you listen to this." And I didn't play the whole thing. I don't know how Ryan kept his cool. Because the guy got worse and worse, and more demanding, and it was really terrible, really terrible.
I liked Ryan's response on Twitter too when Comcast contacted him. He says, "Please don't fire this guy. Please fix your system."
Yeah, not the guy's fault. I'm sure he is, trying to keep his job or get his bonus or whatever.
I do feel a bit sorry for him too. That's a terrible job to have. Just like I don't like being called by telemarketers, but you feel a little bit sorry for the person who has to be in that little cubicle for 11 hours a day, trying to make a quota, trying to sell photocopier toner to people who don't even own a photocopier, and all they have is this list that just tells them to call this person.
Worst job ever. Somebody in the chat room said, I don't know if this is true, that Apple Care representatives are paid or maybe bonused by the customer satisfaction surveys. That's a better way to do it. Ask the customer after the experience, how was your experience? Now, Ryan is not going to give them a positive customer satisfaction response. That's where that's how you, even if people are no longer a customer, you want them to go away feeling good about your company.
Oh, absolutely. When I had to cancel my MiFi service with Verizon, I called them. They clearly, the person I talked to canceled my service within 5 minutes. She absolutely did walk me through, well, is there a problem that we can solve for you? And I said, no, I just now use my phone. Okay, that's fine. So you're already paid to the end of the month, but we'll give you a partial refund for what you didn't use. We will also keep your account semi-active for 6 months. So if you want to re-engage it in the next 6 months, you can reconnect without any more. Is there anything else I can do for you? And I literally was like pausing, like, is she actually doing exactly what I said I would and being the most helpful person she could possibly be right now?
You
Or
really
if I
don't
had a
expect it,
mini
do
stroke?
you?
Exactly. That was the one. It was something that Verizon had got me to pay for an extra 2 months of this service because I honestly was not looking forward to the phone call because I was expecting it to be handed off to 3 different people before they would actually do it, and I almost had the script in my hand of no, you see, there is nothing you can do or say that will make me continue this. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you very much.
Debbie, was it? Okay. Well, you have a nice day too.
Thank you very much. Hey, good news. If you watched Apple's presentation at WWDC over their new Swift programming language, and like me and many others were intrigued and thought, gee, this would be interesting to play with, you can now for free. You don't have to have the $99 developer account. If you go to developer.apple.com/Swift/blog, there's a new blog they just started. They talk about Xcode 6 Beta 3 and let you know that it's free as long as you're a registered developer. That means you don't have to pay. You just have to register. So that is great. And I'm sure that that's part of the plan for Swift, frankly, because clearly Swift is the kind of thing schools and others would like to use because it seems like a good teaching language.
An official Apple blog, Leo. Did you ever think you'd see that day?
Really? They don't do that, do they?
No.
It's very Microsoft of them.
It's
I wonder if
interesting.
it's also. I wonder if part of the goal is also to bring in new developers who don't want to spend the $99, who are established developers either in the web or whatever, don't necessarily want to spend $99 to experiment with a brand new language, but they've heard enough about it that for free, sure, they'll give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's the way to do it.
Nothing but upside here. It's surprising. Like Rene said, it's like, oh, and there are Apple employees that I think we all know who have official but not quite official blogs where their bosses know that they're doing it. They just can't acknowledge that this is an Apple employee who's doing something that benefits Apple. But the fact that you've got this Apple design blog that's another thing that I didn't think I would see this time last year.
It's good news. Yeah. That is a Tim Cookism. We'll call it Cook Era. By the way, it would be free anyway if you have a Mac. Once it comes out of beta, you can download Xcode 5 right now and use it. Yeah. But this is the pre-release version of it, and it will be free if you register as a developer.
And they are making changes. I mean, Chris Lattner is active on the Apple boards. If you are a registered developer, you can go into the developer forums on Apple, and Lattner is in there. He's answering questions. People are submitting bugs. They made substantial changes in Beta 3 on how Swift works and the syntax itself. And they said they'd do that, but it's nice to see they're actually doing that, and they're doing it at a fair clip.
And that's another thing. This allows them to dog food this brand new language on a much wider scale.
Apple had also promised a public beta for Yosemite. That didn't happen while I was in Hawaii, did it?
Not yet.
Okay, something happened. I had downloaded a big thing. I thought, oh, good, I got Yosemite. Instead, it was just 10.9.4, I guess. Or is it 5?
Yeah, and iTunes, Leo. iTunes extras on the Apple TV. My long nightmare is over.
Tell me about that, because I haven't looked at my Apple TV since I came back. What happened?
So Apple had iTunes extras a long time ago. They were actually on the original Apple TV, and then when Apple TV became an iOS device, we lost them, and they got kind of dark for a while. And now last week, Apple announced a whole new kind of iTunes extras, and they released a new version of iTunes for the desktop. So Apple TV updates, they can change things on the web. So Apple TV was updated, but it wasn't enabled. So they enabled iTunes extras for the Apple TV, and they said that iTunes extras will be coming to iOS 8 this fall. So what that means is companies can do like DVD extras or Blu-ray extras for movies on the Apple TV, on iTunes, and on iOS. So if you go to Avengers right now, for example, you'll see there's a gag reel, there's bonus features. Some movies have commentary, and they're doing it. It's always been a WebKit build that does all this stuff, but they're making it dynamic. So movie companies can add more content over time if they want to as well. So it's pretty clever. The one drawback is not all the movies that had the old iTunes extras have the new ones. So if you look on the desktop, you'll see iTunes extras or bracket original. If that movie hasn't been updated yet, they'll let you keep the original version. But the new ones are much better because they stream. Previously, you had to download like 4 gigs of extras. Now they all just stream, and they're in HD, which is great too.
I really miss DVD extras. I think particularly the director commentary on DVDs was the best thing ever. And I know you do a movie podcast, don't you, where you do your own commentary?
Yep. But I like to actually hear what the director was thinking when he did it, what the editors. Yeah, absolutely.
I bought the Blu-ray edition of the Godfather trilogy solely because Coppola does a narration of the first Godfather.
Or even like Weta workshops for the Lord of the Rings to see the stuff that they built.
Oh, I love that
Remarkable.
stuff. Yeah. It's the commentaries I really like, though. I find that so. If you're a fan of a film, to hear why such something is, well, for instance, Coppola says, yeah, the actor ad-libbed the "leave the gun, take the cannoli" line. He tells the whole story behind that scene, and he said, yeah, he just said that. We thought that's good. Keep that in.
The Coppola commentaries are particularly interesting because if you buy the entire set, and I got it home, I bought the DVD set for the commentaries, like you said, and I think actually over one day just decided to watch the entire trilogy. And so you really do see and you know that Coppola recorded these sort of all at once. It's not as though he recorded one in 1970, the other in 1972, the other one in 1990, whatever. But you can see that as he's watching this movie, he's reliving the part of his life he had to experience while he made that movie, because his tone during Godfather Part 1 is, oh, well, I was a young buck, and, you know, we were all experimental. Now, I didn't care about being fired because I knew that this was the right way to do things. And then during the Godfather Part 2, he's reliving that I was the god of this studio. I could do no wrong. They gave me everything that I asked for. And Godfather Part 3, it was like, well, it was a different era, and we had to start shooting that day, and there was no option. I mean, I asked for more time, but they said this is the start date, and
it's really funny. Yeah, he talks about having to reshoot. They didn't want Marlon Brando in The Godfather because he was young. He wasn't the old man. And they had to reshoot the very famous scene in the olive oil factory upstairs. And boy, I just, this is all stuff you don't know when you see the movie the first time, and it's wonderful. So is that the kind of thing, though, that we're going to see in iTunes Extras? Are they going to bring those things back?
If they make them, so it's up to the studios, whatever the studios make available. Some of them have director's commentary, some don't. Some just have bonus features, featurettes.
It seems like there's not a lot of director's commentaries anymore, unfortunately.
No, it's sad, but like the Marvel movies have 10-minute mini movies on all of them, so you can watch all those special episodes. So it depends on what you prefer when it comes to your extras.
I think studios kind of screwed those things up because they really do expect you to come in for free and do this, and at best they promise you, oh, we'll send you a copy of the DVD when it comes out, and they never do. So I think the word has kind of come out that if you want me on your commentary track, you have to pay me for it.
Oh, and the studios won't do that, huh?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Unless you're Peter Jackson and you're filming it all anyway.
Yeah. That's Peter's smart. He does the behind the scenes and everything as he's going. He knows where the money is. That way they could do 18 versions of the Hobbit DVD, which it seems like they have. I bought it already. Oh, but you want this one because it's got... The
Star Trek ones are interesting because whenever you had a question, why did J.J. Abrams do that, it would switch to somebody else for that part of the commentary.
Really? Is that true?
He had like 4 people or 5 people on the commentary.
JJ's not saying.
No, he would do like the big glory. I did this scene so carefully, and then one of the crazy things would happen, and you didn't hear a word from him.
How funny. Apple is bringing in a new chip supplier. Of course, as many people know, Apple's chips are for the iPhone and iPad are, I think, almost all made by Samsung still, yes?
Mm-hmm. Then now come out.
According to the Wall Street Journal, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturer, or TSMC, is now starting to make chips for the iPhones and the iPads.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting in that this happened last year and the year before, and I think on a couple occasions, once iFixit and Chipworks tore it down, it still turned up to be a Samsung part.
Oh, interesting.
So it's really, again, this is almost like reading the tea leaves. It's really hard to tell what Apple's doing based on one supplier report.
Right. They made a deal last year to make chips. According to the journal, some analysts were skeptical that the Taiwanese chip maker, the world's biggest contract chip maker by revenue, could deliver Apple's complicated designs. It's probably good if you're, I don't think it has to do with lawsuits. I just think it's, you want to have more than one supplier for anything. And the scale that Apple now has to make these things and demands, that you have a variety of places you can get them.
There was a great Samsung commercial last week that was making fun of the quality of Apple's LCD display. But my favorite part is I went and looked at who made those displays, and 62% of them were made by Samsung.
No.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the Wall Huggers ad. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, they did that one. Then they did one to show how great it is to have side-by-side apps with a crying baby. And then they did the one about OLED versus LCD.
You're never going to sell me on, although Apple is doing side-by-side apps, you're never going to sell me on split screens on a little thing. But I have to say, this does highlight a problem. And by the way, with all phones,
yeah,
you go to the airport, they're all They're all plugged in.
These people love their iPhones so much, Leo, they won't give them up even if they don't charge.
Well, and one of the advantages Samsung has is removable batteries. It's not that they have better battery life, but they have removable batteries, and they don't really mention that. Yeah, for an additional $50, you can buy an extra battery.
They do at the very end, but I mean, like none of these iPhone guys have a Mophie juice pack or a
there's
battery
lots of
pack.
ways to solve
battery
this.
extender. Yeah. Although that does point out that it's nice to see someone trying to make leverage off of these really user-facing features.
Yes.
That we talk about subtle things in the new operating system, but if you have a new feature of the operating system that will extend your battery life by 25%, and now makers of Android phones can say, well, this phone gets one day plus 9 hours of battery life, according to an independent test. Same test says that the iPhone 6, when it comes out, gets exactly half a day of battery life. That's to someone who's walking into the store prepared to walk out after thinking about their choice for only 20 minutes. That's something that really is very tangible as a feature.
It's I tell you, number one, it's the complaint I hear most often.
And Google didn't talk a lot about new features of the new operating system coming out, a new version of Android coming out this fall, but that was the one that they really did highlight. They said that we're totally revamping the way that these devices can deal with power consumption. So if that actually pays off, that's something that's going to be something to deal with next year.
Somebody points out that maybe that airport is is Heathrow because the United States has required or requested that TSA and other officials at airports, when people are coming into the United States, ask them to turn on their devices to prove that they're not bombs. Apparently, the U.S. has intelligence that some terrorists are starting to build bombs that look like laptops and phones. And so now they're demanding that you be able to turn on your devices. Just a word of warning, if you're coming into the United States from Europe and other places, make sure you've got your phone charged up so you can turn it on. Maybe that's what they're all doing.
Proof of battery life.
Oh, and the risk is they'll confiscate it, by the way. If you can't turn it on, they'll take it.
You have an hour or something to charge it in front of them, and if you can't, they'll,
Really? You have an hour to charge it?
I think it's an hour. But you can't leave, you can't go and swap it for another device. You have to, go plug it in and sit there and charge it and then show them.
Come back when you can turn it on. You have 1 hour.
Well, not even, some reports are saying don't even come back. It's that we're not going to let you go to another part of the terminal and set it off. If they think that this could be a bomb, they could think that, well, it's not going to go through a screening, so I may as well detonate it right here.
Oh my God!
So I'm interested to see what happens the first time that somebody with money is asked to hand over their $1,800 computer with vital company secrets to it, and they simply say, well, here is the computer, the phone works, I'm going to use that to call my lawyer right now. Now is that
I don't know. I think if
ETH on your name badge, there you go.
I don't know.
Yeah, they have very different laws for.
Yeah. Is it true for somebody coming to the U.S. from Canada, Rene? Because you're
I forget the countries. I think Turkey. There was a small list of countries so far. Although I haven't checked recently.
Okay.
I think it's departure, not arrival, too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on departure. So I know Heathrow is one that is required to do, or I think it's requested. I don't think the U.S. can require it, but I think they can request it. I don't know if this is going to impact iPhone sales in China, but the China State Television says the iPhone's location tracking is a national security concern.
Did you see Apple's reply to that?
Yes, we're deeply committed to protecting the privacy of all our customers, Apple says.
Put up
this
whole page.
This all just has to do with the back and forth over the NSA and so forth. And don't forget that the United States last year declared that phones from ZTE and Huawei shouldn't be purchased by United States companies because of the chance of industrial espionage. Mm-hmm. Those companies partially owned by the Chinese military. I guess if I were, a foreign national, I might be reluctant to buy U.S. gear. I kind of understand the concern.
In Shenzhen.
Yeah, it is made in China, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Apple, a fairly lengthy statement saying, we've never worked with any government agency from any country to create a backdoor in any of our products or services. We've never allowed access to our servers. We never will. Something we feel very strongly about.
Unlike other companies, we don't make our money off selling your information.
Do they say that?
In the first or second paragraph.
Yeah. Little snipe at Facebook and Google there.
A little bit.
A little shot across the back, but why not,
It's a differentiator.
I predicted that this would actually become more and more of a differentiator, that Apple's smart to promote this notion of privacy.
Yeah, but you see a lot of these letters are being signed by pretty much everybody who's a player of that punch level in the industry.
Nobody likes.
And really, the people and Apple, it's Google is the company that gets all the fire about this is the company that profits by selling your information. Really, what people should be talking about is the phone carriers, who are making they will comply with law enforcement requests for user data, but they charge for each one of those requests. And the numbers on that are, the first time you find out how much money they're making on these requests, you also think about how much does it actually cost for them to fulfill this request, and how much profit are they making on each one of these. And you're starting to think maybe there's an incentive now for them to make this a very, very easy procedure and a very, very friendly procedure for law enforcement to engage in. So it's not all about Google selling your information to people.
Right. Couple of quickies. iWatch rumors. Ming Chi Kuo again says that an iWatch will enter mass production in November. Apple did hire 2 former Nike Fuel Band engineers.
Yeah, and the Tag Heuer guy.
Really?
Yeah, marketing guy.
Marketing guy. Tag Heuer, however you pronounce that, is a very high-end, beautiful watch. Interestingly marketed as jewelry, really, to high-end buyers.
Yeah, I got a really interesting email. I talked about iWatch rumors last week or the week before on my podcast, and got a really nice email from a listener who suggested that perhaps the point of this wearable is not to create technology, but literally to create a fashion object. And if it has technology packed into it, that's sauce for the goose. Which is not to say that Apple is just going to make an analog watch, but what if maybe it made me think that maybe my stumbling block with a lot of what this thing could be is that I keep thinking about Apple imagining this as a package of features and then trying to figure a way to design that into something that people would wear. Maybe for this specific thing, given all the hires that they've been doing in luxury retail and style brand retail, their thought is 50-50. This is going to be, we want to design a really great watch and we want to sprinkle some Apple technology pixie dust on it, but really we want to do this is going to be a style brand as much as it's going to be a technology brand.
I think that's smart because, I mean, at this point, this is the Android Wear. This is the LG version. There's a Samsung version and soon a Motorola version. These are not fashion-forward things. I mean, there's a certain thickness that's required for the electronics and the battery anyway, and so Apple's going to have to solve that.
But you know, one of the weird things is that looked humongous the first time I saw it, but now when I see, usually in geek podcasts where the hosts are wearing these things, never once have I seen this.
Not
in the
a
wild.
human, no.
But the more that I see this on people's wrists, the more it's not necessarily looking normal, but it's looking like it's within the bandwidth of what you could expect people to actually wear.
Like Joanna.
So I wonder, yeah. It's like, well, I mean, this watch is used to look absolutely huge to me. When I was shopping for this,
it looks so diminutive on your wrist.
It doesn't necessarily look tiny, but the one that I was using before that was a really small, like Timex with a dial that was maybe about 20% smaller than this. And of course, it didn't take very long. One of the reasons why I almost didn't buy this was because, oh my God, this is huge. Am I going to wear this on my wrist like every single day? It's a huge tuna can. And then, like after about a week, it just seemed perfectly normal. So,
Chad had a really good theory. We were talking about these yesterday. And he pointed out that Google did something uncharacteristic with Android where the specs on these are all identical. Google very tightly controls the amount, even down to the amount of RAM, the processor, the UI. There's no, touch whiz interface or added interface on top of it. And Chad had a really interesting theory, which I kind of think he's right on about. He said Google wanted the hardware all to be identical to incent manufacturers to differentiate over design. So you won't buy an Android Wear watch based on the capabilities because they're all the same. You'll buy an Android Wear watch because you like how it looks. And that might also underscore what you just said, Andy, that Apple too is thinking these are always going to be luxury items. They're not going to be a must-have. It's a nice thing to have, but it's not, I do like getting the alerts on my wrist and so forth, and you can talk to this and send text.
But are Samsung and LG and Motorola hiring fashion executives at the same rate Apple is?
That's right. That's right. I mean, you know what? If they had a Tag Heuer quality, beautiful device that, as you say, had a little technology in it, I might be interested in that. And that's the market they're aiming at because it's athletes. Athletes will buy devices to measure, athletic performance. And then it's the people with some discretionary income who might want to buy a nice piece of jewelry that has some capabilities.
Yeah, I wonder what if Apple decided to do. We're going to start off with an analog watch. It is going to be a true mechanical analog watch, and we're going to put some extra features in it. But we're going to design an analog watch.
Wouldn't
I wonder
that
how
be
that
interesting?
would come out.
There is an analog smartwatch.
Yeah, with I can't come up with a name, but it has a terrible video that just sees people like holding a coffee cup with the watch and like being active with the watch and swim with the watch. And literally after I swear to God, I'm a crazy person and I'm alone in my office watching this. And after 30 seconds, I'm like, but what does it do? But what does it do? A minute and a half. Tell me what this thing does besides tell the time.
But it's called Cogito. Cogito.
Ergo sum.
Ergo sum. It's a analog watch that has some smart features. There's no reason you couldn't do that, Frank. Here's the video you were talking about, Andy. There's no reason you couldn't really do that. I mean, I have an analog watch face on my Android Wear because I just happen to like how that looks, and the notifications still pop up at the bottom and everything. Yeah. I think a lot of people who use Pebbles and what does it do? You're right. He's very happy on the roof with his girlfriend, but what does
built connections?
Oh, you're wearing a big stupid watch, but I love you anyway.
It's Emily's birthday, so he's rolling over. Thank you, watch. It's got remote music control. Actually, that's something. Boy, Emily's gonna have a good birthday, I think. Oh wow! Notice this is a very affluent company.
It's an aspirational brand, Leo.
Yeah, it's aspirational. So far we can tell what people's birthdays, and we can start and stop our music if we have that special Cogito brand music player. Uh-oh, pillow fight. You know what that signifies.
She's a scam.
Can your watch protect you from that?
Pillow
fight. Smother you to death for your watch.
I don't know how many videos like this descend into slow motion pillow fights, but I always find them just wonderful.
Well, see, this wasn't the video that I saw, and I saw it like 2 weeks ago. It really was like you've seen. Don't you have memories of all these different tech rollout videos that there is a hand-flecked, hand-cut arrow sticking out of the sand, and a time-lapse video of the shadow getting longer and shorter, and then rose petals falling off in slow motion, and you're like, is this a brand of soup? Is this a letter opener?
What are we kidding?
Trying to sell
Strap
me
a BlackBerry passport to your wrist already. You're done.
What was that ad we showed once, Chad, of the ultimate technology ad?
Gosh,
remember that?
Yes,
that was great.
Yes, yes.
And it was just like that.
We have many people
they didn't
who
say
work
anything.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inspiration.
Yeah.
Quality. These are all words that signify things you want to hear.
Speaking to that, Jean-Louis Gasset in his most recent, I love his Monday note, and this isn't really Apple specific, but I guess it is, since Apple is arch rival used to be Microsoft. Talks about Satya Nadella's letters, very lengthy letters to the Microsoft employees, and mentions exactly that. He says Microsoft's new CEO needs an editor. He says, as I puzzled over the public email Microsoft's CEO sent to his troops, I noted that the 3,100 plotting words missed clarity, ease, and more importantly, specifics. And he said, Satya's a smart guy. Gasset says the reason he wrote this email is not because they're going to be layoffs. He didn't want to say they're going to be layoffs. But he did want to be able to point back to the email and say, see, I told you there were going to be layoffs. So he couched it in a very soft. He said the letter really should say things like, bad news. We're changing the company completely, and some of you are going to lose your jobs.
Including Windows Phone and tablet, maybe.
Yeah, devices may be gone. Very interesting.
That'd be a weird world.
The world is changing, and this is why it is tough to be a technology company and why it's so impressive that what Apple has done. Their stock price is now almost to 100.
I don't want to be living in a world where Apple and Google are the only ones making phones and tablets.
Well, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Apple is... Go ahead.
Especially because I thought that Microsoft had some interesting ideas, and now they seem to be rolling back from the idea of having a tablet that will be doing double duty for you. Now they're basically saying that, okay, anything that kind of looks like a laptop is just going to be a laptop, and anything that looks like a tablet is going to be just a tablet. Sorry about that, everybody. Hope you enjoy the $1,000 computers that you already bought.
Apple has been crowned the greenest tech company, according to Greenpeace. Remember, Greenpeace was against Apple for a while.
Well, Apple was a big highlight that they could put in headlines for a while.
Yeah. Now that, well, they're still putting it in headlines, but it's the good stuff. Like Apple is the greenest tech company. And in fact, 100% green energy in their server farms, which is pretty impressive. Apple stores in the U.S., 145 U.S. stores now using 100% renewable energy. The carbon footprint from Apple, down 3%. It's a little too late for Miami Beach, but what the hell? At least we're making some progress. Only 33,800,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions in 2013.
But it's nice because this is something that they don't necessarily have to do.
They don't have to do it. And if everybody did it, it'd be good.
You know, I mean, even when Greenpeace was on their back about their record, it was a good record. But even the Apple was able to say, okay, so Greenpeace decided to send some people outside of WWDC to be photographed carrying signs, and no one's going to care about that. So it is admirable to see Apple and other companies of its size deciding to say, you know what, we can do this, so let's do this.
They have a VP of Environment now.
Good. Yeah. I always like to end on a happy note before we get to our picks of the week. And this happy note comes from Oklahoma, where a farmer, Kevin Whitney, was standing over a grain elevator, bent down. His iPhone fell into a pit of 280,000 pounds of wheat, never to be seen again. Whitney told the local TV station, "I thought I'd never see that phone again." 9 months later, he's got the phone back. It ended up in Japan. The phone actually was grain sorghum. The phone was shipped down the Arkansas River to the Mississippi River, then to Louisiana. From there, it was put on a cargo ship sent to Japan, where a mill worker found it. The iPhone powered up just fine. The mill employee placed a call to Whitney and said, "I have your phone." He got his phone back.
It's like a Lassie movie.
Happy.
Actually, it's like one of those old Timex commercials where they would every time they got a letter from a customer who said, "Well, I was mixing concrete and it fell off my wrist and it fell in there. I thought I'd never see it again, but at the end of the workday, I was cleaning out the hopper and there was my Timex still ticking."
Takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Keeps on ticking. Yep.
Here, a grain silo indicator inside the phone that would allow Apple to deny them warranty service.
Yeah, the pink.
It turned blue.
Blue for sorghum.
It's been dipped in sorghum. Actually, those, you know what? He shouldn't be bending over those grain silos. You could fall in those. If you fell in them, you would be in trouble.
It could be him in Japan.
It could be him in Japan.
Well, at least he's experienced. Like I was impressed with the idea that he, even in his part of it, he's saying that I knew that thing was gone. I was not going to reach down in there to see if I could get it back.
Yeah, no, he knew.
He knew
smart
a
man.
Costs a lot more than a new phone.
My iPhone dives in after it. No, bad idea.
You drop a ladle in a deep fryer, just let that ladle go, sir.
Alf Watt. What a great name. W-A-T-T. A great name for the guy who created iStumbler and is a former Apple Wi-Fi engineer. His name is Alf Watt.
What?
What? And he was on the Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab number 509 and had a few great tips. Thanks, Dave Hamilton, for posting these to help your Wi-Fi work better. Use the same SSID for all radios on the same network, be they 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. I'm not sure why, but that's what he says. Deal with congestion by adding more access points using less power. So kind of break it up. Is there a way to turn down the power? Yes, there is. You can turn down the power, apparently, the transmit power. And by turning it down, I use 5 gigahertz almost exclusively at home because my Sonos is on 2.4. I have so many things on 2.4. I just use the 5 gigahertz. Some good questions. Point you to Dave Hamilton's article at the Mac Observer. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Mr. Andrew Ihnatko and Rene Ritchie will have their picks of the week, as will I. But first, a word from Squarespace.com. If you're creating your first website or maybe you want to move from a bad hosting environment, can I recommend a better website at squarespace.com? Hosting plus software tightly linked to give you the best experience and, more importantly, your viewers, your visitors, the best experience. Squarespace sites use latest state-of-the-art technology. You don't have to know CSS or JavaScript or HTML because they've got the best developers doing a great job. If you do, by the way, want to be a developer, they have a great developer platform as well, which makes it very nice. But you don't have to. Everything can be done with drag and drop, point and click. You start with 25 designer templates. Each of them, built in, have things like mobile responsive design, so they'll look great no matter what size screen. They all have e-commerce built in. You can turn it on very easily. In fact, every site can sell at least one item, which means you can do donations for nonprofit, things like that. And of course, if you get the e-commerce solution, unlimited services or products or digital products. Plus, I got to tell you, the e-commerce solution really makes it easy. They've got real-time carrier shipping built in, label printing via ShipStation, integrated accounting from zero, all built in, which is really sweet. When you register for a year at squarespace.com, they'll set you up with a custom domain name for free. And it all starts as low as $8 a month, including that domain name, when you sign up for a year. Their metric app for the iPhone and the iPad lets you check site stats like page views, social media follows. They got a blog app, makes it easy to post and monitor comments on the go. And the hosting is included, and of course the great 24/7 customer support right from the Squarespace offices. Knowledgeable people who will answer the phone or answer your email or do your live chat 24/7. The redesigned customer help site's got some great self-help stuff in there too. I want you to try Squarespace for free. You don't need a credit card. 2 weeks free. Just go to squarespace.com, click that Get Started button. If you decide to sign up, we do invite you to use the offer code MacBreak to get 10% off your brand new Squarespace site. Squarespace really is the best place to start your new website or move your website. They have importers that make it very easy to do that as well. We really, really love them and recommend them. Squarespace.com. Andy Ihnatko. By the way, good news. Was it you who recommended The Martian? Have you read The Martian on Audible yet?
No.
Wasn't you? Maybe it was somebody recommended The Martian. We've been talking about it like crazy. It's such a good book.
Yeah, it's been recommended on a lot of shows.
Maybe Brian. It was Brian
Brushwood who first started, yeah.
Yesterday, I was really thrilled to hear Andy Weir, the author on Marketing Mavericks, and Tanya's arranged to have Andy join us for a triangulation. So the author of The Martian will be on triangulation coming up in the next couple of weeks. So that is a Audible pick. But what do you have for us, Andy?
Two quickies. Sometimes you want to talk about an article that you've seen on the web that you don't approve of, don't like. You think this person is a troll, or he or she is spreading misinformation to get page views or whatever reason. You want to talk about this and you want to link to it so people can see it, but you don't want this person to get more Google rankings because of this, because every time someone links to it, that increases its visibility on Google and makes that article more profitable. Someone created this really nice service called DoNotLink.com that is a URL shortener that will take that original web page URL and turn it into a different kind of URL that will absolutely be invisible to Google page rankings. So you can write your 800-word blog post about this thing, link to it, and let people read it without secure in the fashion that you're not going to be helping this person make money off of their ads by doing it. So that's I think you should use it judiciously. I would not use it on articles that you simply disagree with, because I would only use it for people who are just it will make you slightly sick to your stomach to think that you are helping this person popularize their site. But it's a nice solution for that. The other one is a Cortex camera, which is not a very, very new app. It's been around for a couple of years, but particularly being outside trying to take pictures in the absolute darkness reminds you that one of the few things that the iPhone does not do well is it doesn't do well in low light, because other cameras have lots of solutions for that. All the iPhone can do is crank up the ISO and introduces lots and lots and lots of noise. What Cortex camera does is it actually takes a long sequence of images and averages them all out, so that because ISO noise is random noise, anything that is not not the same from frame to frame to frame, must just be noise and not actual image detail. So over the course of 3 to 10 seconds, you basically just keep this thing running, hold it as well as you can, and the result will be a low light image that is almost devoid of any noise whatsoever.
Wow.
It's not for every shooting situation, but as with most iPhone camera apps, it's a good thing to have right there in your tool belt, waiting for that time when you take a picture, it looks like crap. You definitely want to come away from the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona with a good picture, and you realize, oh, wait a minute, I have an app that's specifically good for low noise pictures in low light. Great, I'm glad I already bought that and installed it. $299, not a whole lot of money.
No camera phone has kind of the bulb setting or a long exposure setting, right? I mean, you couldn't do that because
you can't. Well, Nokia, the Lumia 1020 is, as always, the champ of pretty much everything. It does have a long bulb setting, so you can get star trails from it. It also has an
you need a tripod or something. Obviously, it has to be still. But
yeah, and it also has that. It's God. I just love this phone so much because if you like to take good pictures, it really is, and you know how to take good pictures. It's the one that's going to help you out the most. So it does have a manual bulb setting if you want to use it. It also has an optically stabilized lens, which means that you won't necessarily have to put it on a tripod to get those long exposures, that low ISOs, and all the manual controls today already built in, so that if you want to override whatever automatic settings and say, no, ISO 200, do whatever you have to do to keep that ISO as where it is. So
that's cool.
That's just another opportunity to say how excited I am about the new photo APIs in iOS 8. I can't wait to see what happens when users and developers have access to every single camera setting that the hardware is capable of. We're going to see a new renaissance in iPhone photography.
Presumably, the next generation Cortex camera could do a long exposure, for instance. A single long exposure.
Yeah, it's not just what Apple can do with this. It's that every time I see one of these favorite apps of mine, I see that and I really see where developers are banging their heads against the wall. Things that would be so simple if they could simply select a shutter speed, but they can't, so they have to do a workaround. The things they could do for artificial deep focus, which they could do very easily, but they can't do because they don't have access to it. That's why a lot of the really interesting photo apps are available for Android and not for iOS. It's kind of interesting that the iPhone has a much better camera system than almost all Android phones on the market, but some apps can do a lot more wizardry sort of things than any developer can do on iOS right now. But that'll change soon enough.
This is pretty amazing. Cortex camera, $299 from Whimsical Productions on the App Store. Mr. Rene, Ritchie, your pick of the week.
So I'm going to go from photography to music. Now, I know very little about music. Whatever the opposite of talent is what I have in music. But there's this amazing Mac app called Capo that's been around for a long time, and it's just gone to iOS. It launched last Thursday, and this is Capo Touch for iOS. It's done by Chris Licio, who's a fine Canadian developer, really brilliant guy. He got to start writing graphic drivers for BOS when he was in high school. So it gives you an example of where his head is at. And it basically, if you're an aspiring musician, if you are someone who is a working musician and might get the call to replace a guitarist, for example, who's been injured or not available, or you need to change your set on the way to a show, Capo just ingests music. It goes to your iTunes library, it pulls it in, and then it just completely takes it apart for you. It shows you what the chords are. It shows you every bit about it. So it makes learning songs by ear for string instruments, guitars and string instruments, incredibly easy. It's also great if you're a musician and you write by ear. You just write a song, and then later, whether it's for legal reasons or for distribution reasons, it'll help you write it all down, so you don't have to go there and laboriously figure it out. It is. I've rarely seen Apple engineers as blown away by apps as I've seen them blown away by Capo.
This can literally turn something in your iTunes library into a tab, for instance, tablature for guitar.
Yeah, it is. And
this is the kind of thing people like Keith Richards would sit and listen to a song over and over and over and over and over, trying to get it. So how did they play that? In fact, it was Keith Richards who did a weird tuning, and nobody ever could figure out how he played it because his tuning was weird. This does it all automatically. That is cool.
And it's super smart. You can slow it down to make it easier for you to listen along and play along with, and it keeps the same pitch, so you don't lose any of that. You can change a chord, and it'll automatically do all that for you. There is so many layers of cleverness built into this. I was amazed that he managed to squeeze it all into an iPhone or iPad app. And the great thing is you can carry it with you. You can literally use this on a bus, going to a gig.
Wow.
Amazing.
Burke says it's a music decompiler.
It really is. And his company is called Super Mega Ultra Groovy, which is also
supermegaultragroovy.com, and you can get it on the App Store, both app stores, the desktop and now the iOS App Store.
And I believe it's on sale for half off right now if you want to grab it.
$4.99, normally $9.99. I know because I just bought it.
That's awesome.
Even just as a $4.99 to watch a magic trick, I think that's worth $4.99 to watch it work.
Yeah, I agree. Here's one that's free for a couple of days. Chad found this one. One of the things, we've always talked about, is the iPad for content consumption, or can you actually create? And there are certainly things you can create with the iPad. You can take pictures, edit and post them, video, edit and post it. You can write with the iPad. One of the things the iPad was never any good at, that a desktop computer was good at, was programming, computer programming. Well, somebody has put Python on the iPad, IPython, including all the SciPy libraries. So if you're a scientist who uses the Python programming language to analyze, data, this has NumPy, SciPy, SymPy, Pandas, Matplotlib built in. You can access it right through a Python interpreter on the iPad. That's the first time I've ever seen anything like this. And did you find this, Chad? Because this is very cool.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger posts on Reddit. So yeah, that's how I discovered it.
Like Capo, kind of what you can do that, and it's free for the next 3 days. So if you are somebody who's interested in Python, Python is a great language for beginners. It's used by scientists. NASA uses it. Google, of course, does a lot of stuff in Python. Scientists particularly love Python because of the very powerful science libraries, and they're built into Computable. It's called Computable. It is available for free for the next 3 days. I think maybe not the next 3 days because it came out July 10th, and this is the 13th. This might be the last day you can get it for free. I don't know. It's still free. Let's put it that way.
Act now.
Act quickly. It looks like they have pretty good documentation built in and everything. This could be a super duper scientific calculator or more, depending on how you use Python. If you're a Pythonista, Computable from Carl Traunmüller. I shall be downloading it immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this edition of iPad Today. Thank you so much, Rene Ritchie from imore.com. Anything you want to plug? You always have such great podcasts there.
If you're interested in Swift, we managed to get Don Melton, Brent Simmons, and Natalia Berdis, who gave a fantastic talk at WWC on a roundtable with Guy English and myself on Swift, and that's going to be up tomorrow.
That's exciting. That'll be part of the Debug podcast, or?
Yes.
Okay. So imore.com/debug.
Yeah.
And it will be tomorrow. It's not the next. It's the next one coming soon.
Yeah, they're a very clever group of people.
If you are a developer, you like kind of the inside guts of what's going on in Macintosh, this is a great podcast to listen to.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. That'll be good. imore.com/debug, imore.com for those articles. And congratulations. I saw that you've just crossed 30 million uniques for the Mobile Nations websites as a whole.
Yeah, it's humbling. It's amazing. It's I have to thank all those readers.
30 million uniques a month.
Yeah.
For iMore Mobile, Android Central, Crackberry, WP Central, and Connectedly.
Yes.
The Mobile Nations sites.
Thank you.
Well done. Do you get like a bonus for that?
No. I get to work harder to try and get to 40.
Great to have you. Thank you so much, Rene Ritchie. Andy Ihnatko is at the Chicago Sun-Times. Did you take that supermoon picture? No.
Yes, I did.
You did? Yep. Tell us how.
Olympus OMD EM1 on a tripod with a cheap as hell Panasonic Micro Four Thirds zoom lens. I looked really hard for my old Nikon zoom lens with the 2x adapter with the Micro Four Thirds adapter. Could not find it inside the house. But the fun thing about shooting the moon is that it doesn't take it's not like I'm going to shoot airplanes at the air show and hope I get what I can get. It's like, no, there's the moon. It's going to be there in the sky all night. Put it on the tripod.
Wow.
Take one exposure or bracket it 7 times, and then, okay, is that in focus? Yes. Does one of these exposures look good? Yes. All right, then let's go back inside.
That's hard to do, and you did it beautifully. That's a gorgeous picture.
It's a good subject.
Nice.
By the way, sorry.
I know, the chat room's going crazy because I called it the wrong name.
What?
It's MacBreak Weekly. What did I say? iPad Weekly?
iPad Today.
iPad Today.
Oh.
Well, I was doing an iPad app, and I was thinking I should have...
It's a compliment, Leo.
All of our shows are good. But I wanted to thank Anthony because he already has our video up on YouTube.
So here's this is Marcus trying to break.
This is us
It would be hard to
early in the
showing
show,
Marcus
but I want to show you what he did.
And a 5S panel side by side to see what the actual differences are.
So I have in my hands, this is a Samsung Galaxy S3.
Remember this early on in the show?
I want to get 5 million views. And I have a hard, sharp knife. Not a scratch. It's pretty hard to use a sharp knife.
Also, the panel by itself is thin and it'll bend when it's on. Andy said this.
Oh,
really
it's
well last week
flexible.
when yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Boom.
Wow.
Yeah, like a helium balloon.
Oh, please.
I think I'm bleeding. Oh, God.
Well,
there you go.
Somebody please sweep those glass shards off of the table.
Is that glass?
Yeah, well, it's pointy.
Anyway, just wanted to thank Anthony for getting that up so fast.
Anthony Nielsen, our brilliant editor. But that was fast. That was not an aftermarket screen. That was an official Samsung Galaxy S3 replacement part.
Can we watch ourselves watching ourselves?
Let me put that on YouTube real fast.
The whole thing. And I am wearing a Band-Aid now. Thank you for providing the first aid. Jeez.
Purple heart right there, Leo.
Yeah. Yeah, I got wounded in the production of this podcast. We can no longer say that no hosts were injured in the making of MacBreak Weekly. Ladies and gentlemen, we do MacBreak Weekly at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC every Tuesday. Right here in the Brick House Studios. You're more than welcome to join us live in studio. We love that. Just email tickets at twit.tv and we'll put a seat out for you. Thank you all for being here. You can also watch live at twit.tv or live.twit.tv. But if you can't make it, don't worry. On-demand audio and video always available after the fact. Everywhere finer podcasts are aggregated, including, of course, our great apps, thanks to our third-party developers on iOS, Android, even Windows Phone, Roku, Samsung, many places. I think we have a page. What was the name of that page again? That you can see all the different ways you can watch.
Twit.tv/apps.
Apps. Twit.tv/apps. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Now get back to work because you know what? Break time.